Alright, this is take 4 now on this intro video. Maybe I'll get started today sometime. It's the 31st of March 2024, late in the morning. Happy Easter. Hope you're doing well. My goal today is to finish with these valve lifters. I'm about halfway through them right now. Interrupted a lot yesterday by unexpected rain. It's not supposed to rain today, but then it wasn't supposed to yesterday either, so we'll see how the day goes. Monday through Wednesday coming up are supposed to be rainy days, so I probably won't get any work done till later in the week after today. I'm hoping I'll get far enough along today I can actually get the engine running again. We'll see how that goes. Had some suggestions from Brian as well as Jeff Smith. I appreciate it very much. Something Jeff said that was one of those really obvious things. This plug here, this is the bottom side of that plug near the fuel pump. I don't see any clear evidence that it was being hit by the arm on the fuel pump. Nevertheless, I will turn it around and put it back in place. Alright, I've reversed that plug now. Like I said, I didn't see any evidence that it was being hit by the arm there on the fuel pump. I was bolting the fuel pump back on after I cleaned the mating surfaces. I was going to put a new gasket. I realized if I'm going to crank the engine to see if oil is flowing, I don't want fuel jumping all over the place. And then I realized I can't do it while the intake manifold's off because there's still water in the system. And if I start cranking, I'm going to have a mess pouring water all over the place inside the engine. I don't want that, so I'm just going to finish the valves, reassemble everything, and then I'll check to make sure oil is flowing up here. I'm sure it is, but before I put the rocker arms on. But after I put the intake manifold back together and hook up the hoses and everything, then I'll crank it, make sure that there's oil flowing up here where there should be. Alright, here's a little progress update. I've completed going through all the lifters now, and I've put the push rods back in place. I had an interesting problem with this very last lifter over there, the last one that I needed to get to, or take apart. I could not get it apart, no matter what I did. That little piston that's inside there that looks like this, from the other lifter that I took apart, I cannot get it out. So, no matter what I do. All the others I eventually got apart. Some of them were more stubborn than others, but I did eventually get them all apart. Even though one that supposedly collapsed or is no good, which may indeed be good, I don't know. But this one, I decided, since I had two new lifters, to go ahead and just replace this one with a new lifter. So now there's one new lifter diagonally opposite from each other, one here and one there. So, very interesting. I was just doing a visual inspection of the top of all the valve stems, and I noticed on the exhaust valve on this side, the driver's side, the top of this one does not look like it's in good condition. It's pretty pitted, not in very good condition, so I'll have to look at the corresponding rocker arm to see what that looks like, but that's not in good shape. All the others are fine. This is the only damage that I see on any of the valve stems at the top like that. And of course, to fix that, the valve would need to be replaced, which means the head would have to come off. And I'm not in the mood to, I'm not here today to do that kind of engine work. I'm just here to limp this thing along until someday I actually do a full rebuild of the engine, which I'm not prepared to do right now. So I'm just making a note of that. I think I'm just trying to think out loud what my next steps are going to be. I think the next step is going to be to start working on putting the valley cover on, because I want to be able to crank it before I put the rocker arms on. I want to see oil coming out of the oil passage that's supposed to be lubricating through the rocker arms. I did check all the oil passages in the block as I had the valves out. They're all clear as far as I could tell, so I'm not too worried about anything at this point. We'll see what the valve rocker arms look like, especially on this side. This is the rocker arm from the driver's side. This right here would be the point that hits that valve, and the rocker arm looks fine. I don't see any damage there. They all look good as far as I can tell. They look fine. So it's just the valve stem itself that seems to be damaged somehow. But like I said, I'm not here to do an engine rebuild today, not yet. Alright, getting ready to install my valley cover. You can see the new gasket there. It's not in place yet. I'll use some tacky gasket material there to hold it in place. Here's my cleaned The valley cover looks a whole lot better than it did when I pulled it out of the car the first time. It's I don't have a sandblaster or a soda blaster or a compressor, so I can't really do anything about that. Again, that will be part of an engine rebuild in some future time. Valley cover is in place, as you can see. So this is where this ratchet comes in real handy. The electric one. So I just go all the way around and tighten everything up and continue on. On that bolt you see right here, there used to be an O-ring or something underneath it that sealed it against this cover, but I don't have an O-ring for that, so I just put a dab of clear silicone sealant around there to effectively seal it off. It should work fine. Getting ready to lay my intake manifold gaskets in place. They have a convenient notation on there about front, which is interesting because in order for that to work, I guess they only fit on one side of the engine like that. No, that's not right. Let's try this. Okay, there we go. Okay. So the word front is actually not visible once you have it in place, at least on that side. Oh, I guess it's the same on both sides. No. Oh, and this one is just upside down. Okay, got it. I'd rather have it facing out where I can see the word front, but I guess that's just not how they're designed. They're mirror images of each other, or they're identical to each other. So anyway, I usually don't use any kind of sealant here to hold them in place. I just kind of gently set the manifold in place, as gently as you can, that heavy manifold, and maneuver them around until they line up and I can get the bolts through. So the manifold is next. I'm just illustrating here for a moment that I'm cleaning the intake manifold mounting flanges here. So nice to have a wireless brush that control like this. That makes it so much easier using. Whenever the days all I have is a scraper and a file and not myself. That's forever back then. All right, progress report. Things are going along very smoothly. The valley cover is back on and secured. I just finished installing the intake manifold that is torqued down in the proper torque sequence and torque specifications per the shop manual there. I've also finished reattaching. Oh boy, I just knocked a nut onto the ground. I hate when I do that. Anyway, the water lines are now secure. This bypass hose and also the one between the water pump and the intake manifold, I wanted to get those connected because now I'm almost ready to crank the engine. I'm going to do two things before I do that, and the purpose, of course, is to see if oil comes out of one or the other of these oil passages. I think I'm told it's the front ones, but I don't remember for sure. So one or the other of them, there should be oil coming out. I hope it doesn't squirt out. I guess I should have rags handy just in case. But before I do that, I got to insert the distributor, and because that runs the oil pump, and the timing is set to a certain way. So I want to make sure I get it in now before I forget. And what was the other thing I got to do? The fuel pump is disconnected, so there's no gas going to be pouring out anywhere. I don't remember what the second thing was that I wanted to do before I crank the engine, but I'll figure it out. All right, I've just run the test to see if oil is flowing like it's supposed to through the heads to the rocker arms. My son was listening in with me, and I told him it worked, but he said I needed to record it so he could watch it later, so you get to see that as well. So I took out the spark plugs so I wouldn't wear too much on the engine, on the starter and the battery. And it took some cranking before oil finally started flowing, but it did work right here on this side, on the passenger side. You can see the oil came out there, and on the other side came out right there. So I'm assuming that's a good sign that oil is flowing like it should through the rocker arms. So now I'm going to put the rocker arms back and continue my reassembly. So far, so good. All right, the next step in the process, according to Brian, is to crank the engine again after I've got the rocker arms installed, which they are installed now. He suggested to do this in order to load up the lifters, to pump them up so that the engine will be easier to start when it comes time to that. So I'm just going to crank it for a few seconds here and see how we do. All right, I'm going to crank here. Oh, got to hook up my wiring correctly, sorry. All the valves are moving. I have no idea how long to do that, but I think that's probably good enough. So I'm going to put the spark plugs back in and continue reassembling. All right, it's late in the day, the sun's going down, but I've managed to finish reassembling my engine. I didn't really think I was going to get this done today, but I do believe everything is complete. So, God, I hope so. The only thing I'm worried about is I hope I got the wires hooked up to the coil correctly, because I didn't take a picture of that before I disconnected everything. I think I did, but we'll find out if she fires up or not. So I'm not using a microphone or anything because I want you to hear the engine sound. So I sure hope that after all this work, that ticking sound is gone. But if it's not, well, I'll just have to live with it. So I'm going to go turn the ignition to the on position. Got the remote starter set up. And see what happens here. What a day. Long day. Oh, I probably don't have the key in there. Where's my key? That's kind of funny. There we go. Oh, oops, oh, that's not it either. Now we got it. Okay. On position. The oil light's not on. I wonder why the oil light's not on. It should be. Already I'm questioning things, but hopefully she'll fire up. I'll find out real soon. Alright, here we go. Nothing's happening. Alright, I gotta figure out what's going on here. Be right back. Alright, trying this again. Well, that was an interesting day. I did not expect that engine to be so noisy when I started it. I mean, it was really noisy. All the valves lifters were noisy. It's quieted down some, but there's still some ticking going on. I don't know if that's going to reduce as time goes on. I don't know, but I'm out of time, out of energy, and it's supposed to rain for 3 days. So I'm just going to have to let the car sit, and I'll deal with it, when I have some more energy and time. I've also got a water leak. I don't know where that came from, but I'll deal with all that in the next time I work on the car. So, but I got it running. That's something. Have a good evening. All right, one last listen before I turn in for the night. It actually is quieter now that things have settled down. I started it up again. It's actually a lot quieter. So I feel better now before I turn in for the night. Yeah, it's a lot quieter. In fact, it sounds almost normal now. I don't hear any noise at all from over here. This is where we had the loud ticking before. So now it's much more acceptable. That water leak, though, really annoys me. I have no idea why there's a water leak. I did everything I should have done, and there's a water leak. That annoys me more than anything else. But I'll get through it. I'm going to call this a success. Now that the valve lifters have pumped up and they're working normally, it actually sounds pretty good. I'm happy. I think it was worth it. Good night.